Hi and welcome to this video on getting started with a FortiGate in Eve Engine. This video kicks off my Fortinet learning journey. I'm not an expert yet, but I will be walking you through everything I discover as I go. And hopefully it helps you too. In this tutorial, we will walk through the initial setup from management access and setup wizard to firewall policy. By the end, you will have a basic and we can say fully functional FortiGate deployment. So here I have these steps. So with a summary of initial steps, we can say. So first, management access. We will configure the management access. And we will do in the GUI, we will do basic settings like firewall policy or the first rule of firewall policy, and we will do some backup. Let's take a look at our lab here. This is my very simple lab. So let's run the FortiGate, start, and let's open it. So before we begin, we need to let's wait until this is done loading. So the first thing is we need to reset this firewall to start from a clean slate. So here we can log in first. Okay. So how to reset? So to reset a FortiGate, we can use the command execute factory reset. So let's type that execute and let's see what options do we have. So we choose this one, factory reset. So factory reset, and this operation will reset the system to the factory default. So yes. And now it should reboot. System is going to down now. So this command, the execute factory reset, will immediately erase all configuration and reboot the device. We will lose connection, or we will lose all settings, including IPs, admin passwords, firewall rules, etc. When the FortiGate firewall is reset to factory settings, the device reboots and clears all configurations. In this case, we continue. In our case here, we will continue using the console because this is a console connection. Here, when you click on this icon, you get a console connection. So we don't need an IP address to connect. So now, after a reset, how to log in? So we use the username admin, and when it asks about password, don't type anything, just press enter again. And you are faced to change your password. So, and we need to create a new password. So let's create a new one here. And here we are. So now we are in just a new installed FortiGate machine. So now let's start by checking the license status using the command, get system status. So get system status. So the license is very important in this case because you can't do anything without a license in FortiGate. It is not the same as, and the license is very limited. We will talk about that. So it is not the same as a checkpoint. So here, what is important here for us is the license. As we can see here, license status invalid. So when this license is invalid, when you try to log into the GUI, you can't do anything, just empty. So we need to obtain a license or an evaluation license. So back to this command. First, let's explain this command. So get system status. This command displays essential information about the FortiGate device, including firmware version, license status, serial number, system uptime, and more. It's often the first command used during troubleshooting, verification, or audits. As we can see, the license is marked as invalid, which means we will need to activate an evaluation license to proceed. So to fix the license, we use the following command. So let's go down here. So the first command is this one. So execute VM license options, account ID, and you need to add your email here. Your email address that you have used to register on the support.fortinet.com. And the next command is this one, which is execute VM license options, account password, and you need to type your password here. So I will blur my email and my password, but here you need to add your email, and here you need to add your password. And lastly, we have the execute VM license command, this one. Here, it is talking about the limitations, support for low encryption, as you can say. Okay, so now let's choose Y here for yes, and so now we can see VM license install succeeded, and it will reboot. But for this to work, you need to have DNS working. And by default, the FortiGate will be configured to use the Fortinet own DNS engine. I'll show you in a later phase what IPs do they have. Okay, so let's log in again. And as you can see now, the host name is the serial number of the okay, so a word about the license. So it's important to note the evaluation license is very limited. What is allowed is just one virtual CPU, 1 gig of RAM, 3 network interfaces, and 3 policy rules. Honestly, I'm not sure how much we will be able to accomplish in a lab environment with these restrictions. So as you know, in Checkpoint, you get an evaluation license for 1 month and everything is open. So, but let's see how far we can push it. So now let's change the host name. So the host name, to change the host name, we can start by config system global command, config system global, and set host name. Let's call it F1, for example, and as you can see here, it is now F1, so FortiGate 1. So now let's check our interfaces. So get system interface, and here we can see directly our port 1. This is the interface that is important in this case. We have got this IP, but we have got it from the DHCP. And you know, in production, you don't want this interface to be a DHCP. We need it to be a static. Status is up, and information about every interface. So the get system interface command displays the configuration and status of all interfaces on the FortiGate device. It is useful for quickly reviewing how each interface is set up, especially during troubleshooting or initial setup. So we can see, as we said, we can see the IP address of port 1, which is the management port, and the WAN port at the same time in our lab. So now we need to make the IP a static one, so it does not change. So you config, let's check this command, config system interface, and we need to choose our interface. So edit, we choose it by edit port 1 this way, and now we are on port 1. So let's make, so because we got this IP from the DHCP server, let's make this static, the same IP. So we can take this command here, as usual, set IP. This is the IP and this is the mask. Can't change IP dynamically. Okay, so first we need to set, you see here, mode DHCP. So set mode static, something like this. And then again we can now choose the IP address this way. And next we need to set allow access ping. So this is important. So the set allow access ping HTTPS, this command in FortiGate's CLI defines which management protocols are allowed on a specific network interface. In this case, the port 1. We have the ping allows ECMP, and we have HTTPS, which enables access to the web-based GUI, the FortiOS GUI, securely over the HTTPS. This is how you access FortiGate through a browser. And we have SSH, which enables access to the command line. This is useful for remote CLI configuration and troubleshooting via tools like Putty or Terminal. And so let's press enter here, and here we can add an alias. So we can call that interface management and WAN. Please don't do this in the production. But just here in a lab, you can make this interface the same for management and WAN, also the same interface. And then we type end here. So let's check the interface again. So get system interface. And now we can see it is static and the same IP. So nice and easy. So now, how if we want to see our default gateway? So we have a command that shows us our default gateway. So this one. So get router info routing dash table all. And here we can see that our gateway is this one. Not this one, this is the subnet. The gateway itself is the 10.1. So, but how if we want to edit or reconfigure our gateway? We can use the command config router static. So config router static or something like that. Okay, static. First we need to edit 1. Edit 1. So the first rule. We can set, so destination of this rule is, so this is the default route, and our gateway is this one. So set gateway to 10.1 and set device to port 1. It means use the interface port 1. And next, as you can see, it explains, and end. So why edit 1? So what does that mean? It means I want to edit or create the static route with the sequence number 1. So edit 1 refers to route number 1. If it already exists, it will edit that rule. If it doesn't exist, it will create a new one using the ID 1. So if we, for example, chose edit 2, it will create the route number 2, and so on. So now we can now check our DNS. So we can use show system DNS. As I said, the FortiGate comes by default configured with these IPs, and these are Fortinet own DNS servers. So you can change them, or you can have them as they are. But these are, as we said, Fortinet's own DNS servers. Next, we can let's try to ping. So how to ping? We need to add first execute and then ping. Let's ping, for example, Google. So here, by this way, you now know that your DNS is working, because we could ping a name, so you know that your DNS is working. So now it is time to log into the GUI. So now we know. So get system interface. We know that this is our IP address. So let's try to log in. This one. As you can see, first we need to add our credentials. So it tries to do many things here, but let's say later for everything here. Just save. Okay. Later. And click OK. So here we have the GUI of the Fortinet FortiGate. So we have widgets. So every widget you can remove, you can add a new one, you can create a custom widget. So first, let's create our first rule in our policy. So we go to click on this policy and objects and firewall policy. Here we can see a default implicit rule that will deny all traffic. So let's create a new one. So let's click on this one, create new one. Let's call it allow management and WAN, something like that. And here we are using the same interface. So incoming interface is this one, outgoing the same, source, let's tie all, this one, and destination all. Schedule always, service same, let's take all services, and the action is accept. So we have many, and please don't use NAT on this rule. So we have many things here we can check on a later video, but this is a very simple rule that will allow traffic on the port 1 in and out. And click OK here. Let's see if maybe we need to do something here to show that. Okay, now we can see this is our role, and NAT is disabled. So using port 1 as both the management and the WAN interface is uncommon in production, but typical in lab like this in EVNG environments. Because of that, we need to explicitly allow inbound traffic to port 1 to make testing or management possible. So why NAT is disabled? When both interfaces are the same, so port 1 to port 1, if you enabled NAT in such a rule, FortiGate would try to translate source IPs using its own IP on the same interface. This would break return traffic. Since there is no actual routing between zones, you would get asymmetric routing or drop traffic. So that's why we don't allow NAT in this rule. So now let's try to back up our configuration. So we go to our username admin here, system, let's configuration and backup. Okay, it's very simple. So encrypt maybe and use a password. Let's use this password. So we are saving it to our local PC and the format is FortiOS. And click OK, and you will a file will be downloaded here. As we can see, it's a very small file. So that wraps up this video. It was a quick introduction to FortiGate in a virtual lab environment. We configured the base system, enabled management access, activated the validation license, and prepared the firewall to route traffic. In the next video, we will connect the Kali machine. So this one here, we will run this machine and connect it to the firewall. Assign it an IP address and verify that it can reach the internet through the firewall. We will also start testing real-world scenarios like ping, DNS resolution, and even capturing traffic to see how FortiGate handles it. So don't miss that. So thank you for watching and see you in the next video.